Or isn't just homosexual reaction? This is America's Airborne Beavers. Operation Beaver Drop. Yes, this actually happened by channel the Federation. Yeah, beavers, right? Uh, Known for building dams and shit, right? I don't know. Also like same family as otters or something, right? I don't know. I know otters are really fucked up. So if they drop some, what are those otters called? Forgot their name, but yeah, one type of otters who's like insane, deadly insane, right? And even their sound, like when they're like attacking something in groups, the sound they make, that's just, yeah. I remember watching that from a Case of Jurassic video. But yeah, this is just, I mean, the pigeon bombs, right? What is the bad bombs? Like, Federation already made videos about crazy shit. So, whatever it is, right? If it works, it works. That's the America's motto so far, right? I like that somebody can just walk into Pentagon, just like, okay, I have this. And somebody just like, go on. Somebody just basically says that, like, I don't care what you bring me. If it works, it works, which is like how it should be, right? It's about the end goal, right? Who cares? I mean, sure, if it's like Geneva Convention, ethical, whatever. After that, if it works, it works. So let's always fun. Remember, if you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe. So I know which type of videos to react to more. If you haven't seen other reactions I did like this, check out the link in the description or in the end of the video end card. Yeah, let's do it.
This is easily one of my favorite stories of all time, and it is the epitome of it's not stupid if it works. Today we're talking about Operation Beaver Drop, that time that a bunch of World War II veterans that worked for the Idaho Fish and Game Department got assigned the task of relocating a bunch of beavers to a different habitat, and they decided that the cheapest, safest, most cost-effective way to go about that was to strap them to parachutes and throw them out of a plane. And we're gonna get into it right after this ad, because I got bills. This video is brought to you by Conflict of Nations, a free online PvP military strategy game. It is based
They're gonna open the parachute themselves? How's the parachute gonna open?
on a World War III type scenario where you get to pick your own country, or you can pick a state inside of the United States, because that's really the only way to make it fair for everybody else. Otherwise, America would be the instant win. Personally, I always start out as playing Iowa for obvious reasons, and my first order of business every single time is attacking Minnesota and turning them from Minnesota into Upper Iowa. They can't win a Super Bowl, and they're not going to win this battle. It's an easy W. But you don't have to attack. Remember, this is a strategy game. You can be diplomatic and form an alliance with another nation and work together. I mean, you could. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna build up my army with tanks, jets, and nuclear submarines and turn my attention to Wisconsin. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. The nuclear submarines are not super helpful in Midwestern warfare, but that's the type of flexibility that Conflict of Nations allows. I've already taken over Minnesota, the land of 10,000 lakes. I'm gonna put a nuclear submarine in every one of those lakes.
I mean, I'm pretty sure nuclear submarines would have range, right? I don't know. There you go. By the way, my nuclear submarine is like at California or something, at, coastal in Pacific or something. But yeah, it's gonna attack you. So I'm guessing there's like Illinois versus all this like Minnesota, and there's like internal conflict. Is that it? I'm guessing based on like something like NFL or something, right? Sports team always brings out your enemy, I guess.
Anyways, if you want to give it a try, it's available on both PC and mobile, and if you use my link and discount code down below, you're going to get 13,000 free gold and a free 1-month membership. Let's get back to the
or
video.
Just the QR code or whatever that is, right?
All right, let's just take this from the top. Beavers, okay, one of my favorite animals. Why? Because I believe it is the animal that is most similar to humans. And I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, what about monkeys? What about apes? What about chimpanzees? They've all got thumbs and they poke shit with sticks and they eat bananas just like people do. That's fine. I understand that they're very similar to people, but beavers are the most similar to humans in spirit. We are the only animals on the planet with the audacity to walk into a new ecosystem and be like, wow, I hate everything about this. I could A, migrate, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go with option B and change everything about the world around me to make it suit me better and fuck everybody else. Now, do I enjoy the wetlands that beavers create with their dams? No, it's not my jam. However, game recognized game, because when a beaver sees running water and is like,
"You gonna do this? Okay, fine." That's all I needed for him to do that, and it became personal with me.
It's no different than when it's July and it's hot out and I decide to turn my air conditioner on so I can...
Oh god, that is so true. The way he painted the picture about beavers. I mean, yeah. Everything beavers do damn and shit. It's like, yeah, obviously you don't like it, but that's a respect, right? Like, I understand that. I'm a civil engineer, so I really respect that shit. Like, okay, yeah, I see that. I do that all the time. There you go.
can domesticate the wind so that my balls aren't hot, okay? It's about changing the environment around you rather than changing yourself. Okay, it's just that species-wide main character energy of, I don't need to evolve anymore, I'm perfect how I am, I'm going to evolve the world around me to some shit that I like more. So, while I have a great childish respect for beavers, unfortunately for the beavers, between the 15, 16, 17, 1800s, their furs made dope-ass hats and they were really popular all across Europe, and the beavers were almost hunted to extinction for their pelts. Okay, and as I'm sure you can imagine, no beavers means no beavers.
I remember playing Assassin's Creed 3 during the American Revolution time, and you hunt beavers for their pelts or something just to run business. So there you go.
Dams, no beaver dams means no wetlands, and no wetlands messes up the entire ecosystem. Okay, we can't have it. We got to quit killing all the beavers. So the early 1900s, people realized this. They put protections on the beavers, and we quit trying to hunt them to extinction and actually try to help encourage their population to build back up. Okay, fast forward like 50 years, 1945, 1946, right around then. All the young men that went off and fought World War II are coming back home. They got a bunch of money from fighting that war. They want to get a wife, build a house, have some kids, do people things. So they start expanding. And one of the places this happens in is...
Imagine that, right? You're coming back from the World War II. I mean, obviously, if you're like, you went, like recently, you won't have that feeling. But imagine somebody who just like was there since the day it started and was there in the field, right? And somehow survived the entire World War II and just coming back home. Imagine the feeling he might have in the head, right? Like, damn, I literally survived in the front lines, right? I mean, if you're like something like, like utilitarian type of job, and even then you'll be like, how the fuck did I survive? I'm surprised my facility didn't get bombed or something, right? That is such feeling, right? I'm pretty sure there have been many veterans at the time who like was there at the start and all the way to end at the front line somehow.
A town called McCall, Idaho, and they start expanding and the town gets bigger and bigger, and eventually it displaces a bunch of beavers that have been out in the woods doing beaver things for hundreds of years, and these new beavers get displaced and they go out and they start fucking up a bunch of farmers' fields and irrigation systems, and it gets to the point that the people in the town are just going to start shooting these beavers because they're messing everything up. At this point, the Idaho Fish and Game Department, presumably also full of World War I and World War II veterans, steps in and like, no, we're not gonna kill these beavers. These guys are awesome. They do a lot for the environment. We're gonna take them, we'll move them somewhere else where they can thrive.
We're not killing beavers. We're just relocating them.
So here's the plan. They're going to capture the beavers alive. They're going to drive them as far as they can on roads, and then they're going to pack them in on horses and mules miles and miles into the wilderness where they're not going to be near any humans ever. And this is a complete disaster pretty much from the start. They capture the beavers alive, stick them in a cage, throw them on a truck, try to drive them hours and hours into the wilderness. This is...
Okay, so they're going to relocate it. I thought they were going to do some like pigeon shit, right? I'm pretty sure it was pigeons, right? Where they like drop, like taped bomb or something, throw them, thinking they would explode, but none of them hit the target. So obviously they were like, they're going to be in some kind of a box and like parachute down. I'm like, okay, they're going to use beavers as like some kind of a weapon or something. They're going to give them parachute or something. How they're going to open parachute? First of all, how the small parachute for you, I don't know, my mind was there. Like, of course it's going to be in the box. They're going to beavers in the box and box will have parachute. Of course it's going to be that. I'm stupid.
Is really hard on them because beavers, they're a lot like me. I like to sit in my house in the air conditioning. They like to sit in their dams in the nice, damp, wet environment to keep cool. Beavers can't keep cool on the back of an unair conditioned truck in the mid 1940s. A lot of them are getting heat stroke, they're passing out, they're dying, they quit eating, or they get super agitated and they're very combative the entire time because they're hot. Then, even if the beavers do survive the truck ride, they're all pissed off and angry, and now they're getting strapped to a horse or a mule.
You hear the
pisses
cursing?
off the horse because he's got a bunch of angry beavers all over him, and now the horse is pissed off, and the whole thing just, it doesn't work. So now the Fish and Game Department is like, well, what are we gonna do? We gotta save all these.
You just hear the cursing words like with bleeps coming from the back of the box like that, fuck. And then horse getting angry like, why'd you bring those people there? We were doing fine. Why'd you bring beavers on? Like, just like, there's like whole commotion now.
Beavers, we want to get them up in the mountains so they can build their wetlands. It's going to help protect the town from flash flooding. It's going to prevent erosion. It's going to be great for the environment. We got to save these guys. And one guy at the Fish and Game Department presumably is like, I got an idea. Hear me out. We do have an awful lot of extra surplus parachutes from World War II laying around, and we've got a plane. Okay, now to us in 2024, this sounds insane, but you gotta remember, this is 1948, okay? There's no OSHA, there's no like rules and regulations, and it's in Idaho, which is basically the middle of nowhere at this point. Nobody's telling these guys what to do. A bunch of World War I, World War II veterans are like, huh, it's actually a pretty good idea, Jimmy. You know, it did work at Normandy, and the beavers aren't even gonna have Germans shooting at them, so pretty high likelihood they'll be fine. Let's try it. So first order of business, we got to develop a box that opens up once it hits the ground and gets the beavers to the ground safely. Pretty simple. It's basically 2 halves of a box with some holes drilled in it. They weave the rope through. Once the parachute lands, there's no more tension on the rope. The box just kind of falls open. The beavers get out and start doing beaver things. So first we're going to test it before we put any innocent beavers at risk. We're going to take some empty weights, put them in the boxes, go up in the plane.
I was about to say they're like pretty complicated enough contraption, let's just say. What if it fails? But I'm glad that they're actually going to test it. Then that's going to show the beavers. It's like, oh, fuck it. Oh, shit, look at that. It's like the episode from The Boys or something. Wait a minute. All weight fell and like everybody just explode.
Drop them over the practice field, see how it goes. Goes fine the first couple of times, okay. Let's try it with 1 beaver, just for practice. So they go ahead, they pick an older male. He's out of his breeding prime, potentially dangerous to some of the younger males. If something does happen, he's lived out most of his life. They name him Geronimo because they're a bunch of meatheads and that shit's funny. So they put him in a crate, they take him up in the plane, drop him off over the practice field from 800 feet. Geronimo makes it and survives. Now, obviously, we're not going to put all our beavers in one basket because of 1 successful test run. We need multiple test runs to be certain that this is going to work. And now that Geronimo is technically our lucky beaver, he's going to do it again. So he does. Geronimo does it again and again and again, and he keeps jumping, like more than 12 jumps this beaver makes. And by the end of it, the parks employees reported that Geronimo would actually run up to them and help them put him in the crate because he was ready to go again. Buh! This is animal abuse, and what if one of those boxes didn't open after the parachute landed? Buh! Okay, first of all, no it isn't. I've already went over the options. A, they could stay where they were at, being displaced, and end up getting shot by farmers for messing up their crops. B, they could spend days in transit on the truck and on a pack mule suffering and potentially dying. Or C, we could throw them in an airplane, fly them there in 15 minutes, and then throw them out the side. They can get their jump wings while they're doing their Band of Beavers reenactment, okay? It's literally the best option.
Look, man, I've said this in the past. I'm going to say it again. We live in gray areas, right? This is also gray area. People will have opinions between those gray areas and they will all be right and all be wrong, right? Beavers don't know better, right? Beavers don't know what's good for them. So everyone will always argue whatever you do, it's going to be animal abuse. But at the same time, that beaver is also running up to them saying like, okay, I want to go again type of shit. People will also argue like that beaver doesn't know any better and beaver is just like following a routine. That's animal abuse. So we live in gray area. It's like psychology, right? Psychology is, study of psychology is great, but there will be a point where we'll see everything as like a, psychological phenomenon. Being evil or bad will also be a psychological phenomenon, right? There will be a point where you can trace everything back to a certain event. So what, you're not going to punish people, right? You're not going to see certain people as evil. Because if everything is just like whatever you've been through or your psychology, point is we live in gray areas, right? People will have opinion over those gray areas, but it's like you have to go with common sense, right? Beavers die left and right, right? Beavers kill beavers left and right as well. This is better than like, any other beaver's going to go through. This beaver is literally going to the plane, getting thrown down with parachute. This is the best beaver's life there can be.
Okay, secondly, why are you worried about the box not opening? Like, did you think about this at all? It's a pine box, and that's a beaver. Okay, literally the only animal in the animal kingdom known for cutting down trees with its fucking face. I have the utmost confidence that if one of those boxes malfunctions, the beaver is gonna figure it out. All right, so now
I was about to say this, like one of those instances, like you have some like veteran constructors like, why did you use that ply? You should have used this ply. You should have used that wood. That is not good construction. Beaver's probably going inside, this box is not good construction. Let me like fix it and just like cut it through.
Their beaver delivery method, they develop a plan. They pick out a bunch of different locations all over this wooded area where they're going to be able to drop these beavers off in groups of like 3 to 5, 2 males, 3 females, 1 male, 3 females, something like that, enough that they're going to be able to rebuild their own little colonies, but they're going to be spread out enough that they're not going to congregate into one thing, and it's going to be a humongous boost to the beaver population. This is what conservation's all about. So they get that all figured out, they have the plan in place, they know the delivery method, now they just got to go catch all the beavers. So they go back to town, catch them all, there's 76 of them. They take them back, they start loading them in crates, and they're going to take them up in the plane and throw them out the side. And here's the best part about the whole thing. They filmed it.
Into the drop box. nearly ready for that flight back into the mountain.
And this is where you can really start to see that this is a different time. I mean,
Love
look
the
at this
commentary.
absolute Chad just manhandling this beaver into that crate with no safety equipment, no gloves, no eye pro,
Seriously.
nothing. If this were modern day, that guy would have leather protective gloves up to his elbow. He'd have safety glasses with a hard hat, with a face shield, with a leather apron. He'd have two dudes holding his hand while he did it just to make the safety guy happy. No, this is just some angry war veteran throwing a beaver into a box like it's another 8-hour workday. It's fantastic.
Yeah, the older videos always like that. Put some elbow grease on it. There you go. There's like no protection, nothing. Obviously, protection is important, right? It's like one of the leading thing we have today. Protection is the reason like survivability is high, right? Like I said, I'm a civil engineer. Like I'm a contractor. Do a lot of construction things. Safety equipments matter, right? You can just see the numbers, like how many people get injured or like worse, right? It's much less because of all this. So it's just better, but still, like every time you see these old clip where people just like bare hands just doing things, right? It feels like Red Dead Redemption or something. Like, okay, let's just do things, just like put all the sleeves up.
That's it. They get the beavers loaded up on the plane takes off, they drop all the beavers in their designated drop zones. 75 out of the 76 survived. I don't know how they know this. I'm assuming they had people on the ground at the different drop locations to make sure the boxes opened or that the beavers made it or whatever. But apparently the one beaver that didn't make it had somehow either slipped through the crack when the rope was loose or eaten his way out of the box after they let it out of the plane. And the beaver was last seen standing on top of the box with the parachute above him, and he probably would have been fine, except when he got 75 feet off the ground, he decided to jump. So on one hand, that's kind of sad, but on the other hand, natural selection. If the other 75 beavers figured it out and you didn't, it's probably...
I mean, when they build the dam, I'm pretty sure there's one beaver who always tries to jump from their dam as well. So just like this shit happens all the time.
On you. On a happier note, though, the boys at the Fish and Game Department decided to hook up their lucky beaver, Geronimo. This is posted in the Journal of Wildlife Management, Volume 14, Number 2, April of 1950. The article, Transplanting Beavers by Airplane and Parachute by Elmo W. Heater, Idaho Fish and Game Department, McCall, Idaho. And I quote, Geronimo had a priority reservation on the first ship into the hinterland, and that with 3 young females went with him. They had to hook up their boy. And he made it. Apparently they went to check in on him a couple years later, and his new colony was, and I quote, very well established. And Geronimo was not unique in that, because pretty much every drop zone ended up turning into a thriving beaver colony in the following years, because they kept tabs on this entire thing. And not only did it work, it was also super cost effective, because according to this journal, the cost of transplanting one of these colonies was $30. It was $2 for the box, $16 for the surplus cargo parachute, and the...
Yeah, this is not just some World War veterans doing some shit. This is scientific research. This is some next level thing. They researched it, sure, and they like executed in like practice. This is scientific. And there is a result based on that, like whole colonies are thriving. This is as scientific as it can get, right? All of them should get some kind of like a distinguished plaque or something from scientific community. Like you did, even without degrees in science or something, you did scientific shit right there.
Flight time, man hours, and fuel totaled to $12 for a total of $30 per colony. And just to be clear, that's the actual crazy part about this story. It's not the fact that they actually had airborne beavers to go save the environment. No, that seems pretty reasonable. The crazy part is that these guys back in the 1940s managed to get the job done, have fun, and record it, and they did it for like $300 to $500. Because we all know in modern times, if they wanted to do this, there'd have to be like a 15-year-long environmental impact study that costs the U.S. taxpayers $25 million just so that the government could determine that if you...
What do you call national park employee? What is it called? National park, right? That's what you have in America. National park, which is like this designated places that nobody owns but federal government owns, and they protect the environment or something. Right, so you would have to give them like millions of dollars of grant or something where they execute some kind of project, and even if they're like, they would have like what 50% success or some shit. These people just did it. There you go. As scientific as it can get.
Drop beavers off in the forest, they will in fact do what beavers do. And then once the government goes ahead and says it is in fact okay to put beavers in the woods, it's going to take another 10 years for Lockheed Martin and Boeing to bid on the contract worth $100 million to relocate 100 beavers into the woods.
Is it just me, or was that the stupidest thing we've ever seen?
Sorry, I'm ranting. In conclusion, the moral of the story is if it's...
Bureaucracy is just insane, man. 100 fucking million. How the... Why did nobody just went like, these people just did it for close to no money? You're gonna ask me this much money? Come on. That is just insanity.
Sounds dumb, but it works. It's not that dumb, and sometimes it's ridiculously cost-effective to just let people do their job. Also, beavers are cool, and airborne beavers are even cool.
Insane example of how you don't need your federal government or government in everything, right? A lot of states have some kind of a freedom, right? And it makes sense, right? US also like works in that gray area where like they have enough federal government to be proper country powerhouse, but also like just enough freedom to let people do their thing, which is just working. I mean, obviously there's struggle there, right? Back and forth, right? Between like who wins. But the struggle stays alive and that gray zone stays alive, I guess.
And this has been the story of America's band of beavers, the airborne paratrooper beavers that went in to save the environment. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack, bang, out. I didn't make a single vagina joke in that entire video. I'm finally maturing. Oh, and one more thing. Don't forget to go check out Conflict of Nations, okay? You get to pick your own country, mainly the United States, otherwise, let's face it, you're just competing for second place. Don't forget to use my code down below to get the freebies.
Yeah, and don't play as Soviet Union or something, definitely. Otherwise, Factorson will find you. Yeah, scan the QR code or go to original video page link, I guess, and support Factorson. Seriously, support him. Never seen somebody who tells story this well and is just like really passionate at this level. I saw the Soviet Union rant in one of the, that podcast they do. Just fucking awesome. This was such a wholesome video, man. I love the beaver thing. I love how veterans did that. I didn't love that, company asked for 100 million to do the same shit. But hey, that's how it works every time, right? But yeah, this is just awesome. Everything about it, right? Well, that was America's Airborne Beavers. Okay, shouldn't this be Fat Files channel video? I mean, sure, there were veterans involved, but this was like military video or something. I don't know. I thought that was the theme. I don't know. Yeah, this was Operation Beaver Drop by Channel Federation. If you like my action, do follow, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.